So I just did something weird. Never thought I'd be doing this. I recorded a pre-tariff commercial. Tell me that's not weird. I mean, I've done pandemic commercials. I've even done economic meltdown commercials. Gulf War commercials. I can't remember if I've done any 9/11 commercials or not. You know, when all of these terrible events happen, you've got to respond as a businessman. You've got to figure, okay, what am I going to do now? How do I convince people that now is a great time to buy cars? Well, you know, as far as the tariff is concerned, you know, it's going to happen. It's here. Prices are going to go up. You don't know when. None of the inventory that we have in stock right now has any tariffs on it. So it's definitely a bargain compared to what they'll be like in, I don't know, 60, 90 days when we start running out of these cars, and then the higher price cars come up. I mean, the experts that I read in automotive news, Cox Automotive, whoever they are, they're a surveying, data research company as far as the auto industry is concerned. They say that the average car price is going to go up $3,400. And you know how averages are. Somebody said one time that if you put one of your cheeks on a block of ice and the other cheek on a hot stove, on average, you'll be comfortable. Well, none of us believe that. So I don't think we can believe that the average price is going to go up $3,400. On a lot of vehicles, it'll be a lot more than that. I just had a friend that ordered a new Porsche. And it was a very expensive car, $177,000. It is a Cayman GT4 RS, and he's ordering it just to drive it on the track. Yeah, I know, he's loaded. But, you know, you got to have some loaded friends occasionally just so you can, you know, see what it's like and get close to it. But, yeah, he just beat the tariff. His vehicle arrived at the dealership the day before yesterday. Otherwise, that car was going to cost a little over $220,000. He could have backed out if that happened. I certainly would have. Well, I would have thought about it, depending on my liquidity at the moment. I mean, to some people, it's really hard to believe, but you know, what's an extra $44,000? Well, that's certainly not me, and that's certainly not most of my customers. You know, an extra of $3,400 per car. That translates to probably, I don't know, $80 more a month for nothing. There's no added value there. It's just tax. But at least gas prices are lower, and I think there's more eggs available now. But Tennessee got knocked out of the NCAA tournament, so it's not all great. I mean, I am in the optimism business. When people come in here to buy a car, you know, I want to be positive. I want my salespeople to be positive. It should be an exciting thing, right? But a lot of people dread it because they don't know what they're going to face. They don't trust the process. In many cases, they don't trust the people. Rightfully so, but not here at Gateway. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, a lot of dealerships, it's scary. And you're going to hear a lot of crap from people. Did I just say that? Yes. You're going to hear it when you go in to buy a car about, well, we've had to adjust our pricing. We've got some type of a supplemental charge on our window sticker. What's that there for? Well, that's to make up for the tariffs that are coming. But they're not here yet. Yeah, but they're coming. And this inventory is got to be adjusted to help make up for the additional cost we're going to have on the tariffed inventory. You're going to see it. You're going to walk into some dealerships that, you know, it'll be those ones that already have $5,000 added to the window sticker. And this gives them an excuse to add another $3,400. They're just trying to get a jump on it. Doesn't that seem like counterintuitive to you? It does to me. Speaking of counterintuitive, over the years I've had a lot of people that had major issues with their car. Something's failed. It could be an engine or transmission, and it's an older car. This happened to a 83-year-old yesterday at the dealership. He called. He said, Lenny, I bought this car from you 13 years ago. It's a Ford Taurus, and the water pump is out. And I took it to a repair center, and it was an independent shop, and they said it was going to cost $4,000 to fix his water pump. And I said, well, that doesn't sound right. $4,000 for a water pump? So I said, well, let me call you back. So I got up off of my executive chair and walked back into the shop and went to one of my technicians. I said, tell me about water pumps on like a 2011, 2012 Ford Taurus. He said, that's not good. I said, why? He said, because it's in the front of the engine. You have to take the front cover off of the engine in order to get to that. It's a big job. I said, well, what would it cost? He said, probably $3,500 to $4,000. Oh, well, I guess I don't know everything. So I walked back to my office, sit down, pick up the phone, call him back, and I said, well, that's about what it's going to cost. He said, well, I need to buy a new car. Now, is that counterintuitive? Would it be better to spend $4,000 to fix an old car than to spend, well, he was interested in a Ford Maverick, one of the hybrids. And we had several coming in. So, I pulled the invoice and the sticker price and all that stuff, and we came up with what a trade difference would be. Actually, his car is not worth as much as that repair bill. So does that mean he's going to have to pay me to take his car? No. See, even a car that's not worth as much as its repair bill is still worth something, because there's a lot of metal and plastic and other parts in there that a junkyard can use. But come to find out, this was a really nice car. It was very clean and so forth. So we were able to work out a deal for him on a new Maverick. But there's a lot of people that, they should probably just go ahead and fix their old car. But then they have to realize that while the part that you replace is brand new, the rest of the car is, 13 years old. So sometimes it does make sense to trade. But were you thinking about trading anyway? 13 years is a long time to keep a vehicle. And with 140, 180, 220,000 miles, probably a ticking time bomb, when you least expect it. So this episode, I bet you were wondering what this episode was about. It's actually about when to trade. How long should you keep a car? When's the best time to finally say, honey, let's go get a new something or other? We'll cover that here in just a minute. Sometimes when I go to the mall or go shopping or go to Dollywood, you see somebody with pink or blue hair, tattoos all over, everywhere. And I'll just look at my wife and she'll say, don't say it. Remember, PAD. People are different, and they are. And people have different reasons for wanting something new, especially a new car. But what makes that possible for a lot of people is their worst enemy. And I'm speaking primarily to those payment buyers, people who they'll rationalize anything, and it'll be based on the monthly payment. If you are a payment buyer, if you can't buy a car without making monthly payments, as long as you pay 20 to 25% down, you can trade every 4 to 5 years and not be, in trouble, not be hurting yourself financially to the point where you'll be refinancing debt when you buy your next car. That's because your payoff is higher than, the actual cash value of your vehicle. We call it negative equity. That's always been kind of a weird term, because the word negative and equity do not go together. Because equity is what you own, and the negative part is the debt that you have that's just not going to go away. Even if you were to sell the car to somebody at a reasonable price, you still owe more at the bank than what you sold it for. And the bank says, pay up, dude. But you can't pay up. So what you end up doing is buying a new car and rolling that negative equity over onto the new car. But if you pay 20 to 25% down, then most of the time you're not going to have any negative equity unless you buy a Hyundai. But really anything that you finance for 72 months, 84 months, you can't trade and come out. You can trade because the banks are willing to loan 130% of MSRP, banks and credit unions. They're not doing you any favors by doing that, by the way. They're just feeding your payment addiction. So I guess the moral of this short part of this story is that don't trade if you have excessive negative equity. Just wait. Keep paying. Try to throw extra money at the monthly payment. An extra $20, $30, $50 if you can, and you'll pay off your vehicle sooner. All of that goes to the principal because it is a simple interest loan. Any extra that you throw on a monthly payment is going to go to the principal. But you better, and I mean better, make sure the bank understands that. Because sometimes those banks, they can be naughty, and they will apply extra money let's say you pay 2 payments at once, and you think that second payment is going all towards equity. They may have a policy that states that no, you just paid the next payment that was due. You're just prepaying payments, and each of those payments has an interest charge in it. So anyway, that's my lesson about when to trade from a payment standpoint. I have a lot of people call me and say, should I trade now that my warranty's run out? And I say, well, not necessarily. Have you had a lot of problems with the car? No, it's been a good car. Then why do you think you should trade? Well, just worry about repair bills, and do you owe anything on the car? No, it's paid for. I said, well, that's a pretty good situation for a person to be in. I mean, you could buy an extended service contract, and if you're worried about future repairs, I mean, you're betting that you're going to have a problem, and the insurance company that backs the warranty is betting that you aren't going to have a problem, or that the problems that you have will be less than the premium that you pay them. So it's really boils down to what's your normal trading cycle. I mean, if you've got a paid-for car and it's been a good car and you still like it, there's really no reason to trade it. If your life situation has changed and you're you're traveling a lot more, maybe you have grandkids that you have to go pick up at school like we do, then that might be the impetus that you need to go trade or go look at vehicles. But a lot of people think about trading when they have a major failure, like a water pump in a 2011 Ford Taurus. Is it better to fix the car and keep driving it or trade? Another example that I have happened probably, it's probably been 15 years ago now. Good customer of mine bought a Mitsubishi Montero from me. And it had about 80,000 miles on it when he called me. He said he had taken it. We weren't a Mitsubishi dealer anymore. And he had taken it to a dealership in Johnson City, Tennessee, and they said he needed an engine. I think he blew a head gasket, not him personally, but his car. And coolant had gotten into the oil, which is not good. It degraded the oil and caused cylinder damage, and he spun a bearing on his crankcase. I'm sure that makes a lot of sense to you. Suffice to say that his engine was toast. Lenny, should I trade? Or should I put a new engine in this? At that time, an engine was going to be, a used engine. I found one for him, as a matter of fact. It was going to be about $4,000 plus labor, and the labor was going to be another $1,500 at that time, I believe. So his situation is different. I mean, the car was paid for, or the SUV was paid for, and he's a doctor. So, it really wasn't going to be that big of a deal. What if he wasn't a doctor he lives paycheck to paycheck, and he's got to actually charge this on a credit card to be able to afford the repairs. Is that a different scenario? It sure is. In his case, I suggested that he trades. In the other scenario, I suggest that they not trade, and it would probably have something to do with the payoff on the vehicle in relation to what is the salvage value of this vehicle with no engine. I mean, there's somebody that would buy that vehicle without an engine because they could fix it probably cheaper than the dealer where he had it. But can you imagine the beating that the owner's going to take? Because it's possible that their payoff was triple, what the salvage value of the vehicle is, and that's going to be carried over to a new car loan. It's just adding to the problem. So fix the vehicle. Of course, a lot of that depends on how they pay for repairs. I mean, you're going to put it on a credit card, and how long is it going to take you to pay off that credit card, especially when it's got 28% interest on the card? So all these scenarios, you got so many different variables that you have to take into account. And too many people they shoot from the hip and they just don't make a really informed decision because they don't know who to talk to about it. Because if you go to a new car dealer, they're going to try to do anything they can to get you in a new vehicle or a used vehicle when it may not be in your best interest to do so. You talk to the people at the service department, and they're saying, well, just go ahead and fix the car. It'll be a good car after you're done with it. So if you're in one of these kind of scenarios, there's a couple things you have to do. And you don't want to rely on the dealer that you're trying to buy a car from or trade this salvage vehicle with to try to make these calls for you. You try to shop your trade. And I know that's really going to be hard for somebody that doesn't feel like they have any connections. But you can call a junkyard and you can say, I've got a vehicle that's sitting at this dealership that needs an engine, and I need to know what the salvage value of this vehicle is. What will you pay me for it? And that's no different really than putting a vehicle on Facebook Marketplace. Matter of fact, you could put it there. How much trouble do you want to go through to save an extra $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000? I would certainly go through a lot of trouble to save that much money. But if you're a widow, or you're a student out there on your own, or you don't know anything about cars, and this is unexplored territory for you, that's why you got me. The Car Guru, 423-552-2020. Consider it a rescue line for people who don't know what to do and have a hard time making car decisions. And I'll be glad to help. Okay, I'll take my last break. I'll be back in just a minute. It's funny how these kind of things hit you when you least expect it or need it. I had a good customer just the other day, called me, had my cell phone number. Lenny, I need you. I said, what do you need? Said, when I get in my car, push the button to start, it goes click, 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 click. I said, well, did you leave something on in it? No, I have the keys in my hand. I'm in the house. When I go in there and push the button, it won't start. And it's got all kinds of lights coming on. I said, I'll be up there in just a few minutes. Oh, you don't have to come. Yeah, I'm coming. I've got one of those little jump boxes that I keep in my truck, and it's portable. And I said, I'll be up there in a few minutes. So she said, okay. And so I went up to her house, and she's a widow. And I went up and opened up the hood, and she was almost in tears when I got there. And I understand it, because she just doesn't have anybody. And so I jump-started the car. I left my truck there, gave her my keys, just drive my truck if you need it, and brought it to the dealership. And the battery was just defective. It was putting out 12 volts, but the cold cranking amps, which is the other measurement of battery usefulness, was about half what it needed to be. It's half what it was when it was new. But, I can't remember what year it is, but it has 45,000 miles. I think it's a 2017 or 2018 Nissan Rogue. So we put a new battery in it. I called her. I said, are you still there? She said, yes. I said, I'm bringing it back to you. Already? And I said, yeah, it's fixed. And I took it to her, parked it in her driveway. She thanked me, gave me a hug, and I got back in my vehicle and came back to work. Now, why am I willing to do that for her? Well, because since 1978, when they came to Greenville, we moved here in 1971. 1978, they bought their first vehicle from us. It was a Chevy conversion van, low top by Contempo. I can remember it because it was one of the first conversion vans that we ever had, and sold at our Chevy dealership in Greenville. We're not a Chevy dealer anymore, but we were then. That was our first dealership. And they bought that from us in 1978, and they never bought another car from anybody else but me. Now, what would you do when you looked at your phone and it was them calling? Whatever they need, you're going to take care of it. And really, that's based on experience after experience that turns out well, and the occasional screw-up that ends up turning out well. Because my dad always told me, Lenny, it's not what you do when things are going good. It's how you respond when you make a mistake or when you screw something up. That's what people remember, and that's what keeps them coming back or never darkening your door again. Well, thanks for listening to this edition of My Car Guru. Call me or send me a text if you need rescuing, 423-552-2020. I may not be able to show up personally, but I'll put you on the right path. Or you can email me, LennyLawson2020@gmail.com, and I'll see you next time.